Welcome to Food Technology 1 FOT150S. I am Vusim Shaisa, and today we're going to look at filtration and membrane separation. This is part 2 of the filtration chapter. So we have already looked at the basics around filtration. We've looked at the mechanism of filtration, or in layman's term, what happens during filtration. We have looked at the types of filtration systems that we can have, looking at the gravity filtration, looking at clarification, centrifugal clarification or centrifugal filtration, and we have looked at the requirements of filter medium. And today we are going to look at the filtration equipment. What are the types of equipment that we find or we can use during filtration? So first in the list we find what we call pressure filters. Here we've got two commonly used filters, which are bench plate frame filter press and the shell and leaf filter press, right? So we also have the vacuum filter press, which consists of the rotary drum filter and the rotary vacuum disc filters. So we're going to try to look at each of these methods and how do they work, right? So first of all, we are going to look at the pressure filters. So the pressure filters, if you look at this video, it's a large equipment, as I've explained in the initial video, that these are concerned with large scale processing. And here we are looking at the pressure. So there are plates that are closed and held tight into two large hydraulic pistons, and then there is air that circulates in these plate filters, and this basically, the slurry is fed into the chamber, and every other plate is pressurized to remove additional liquid. So these are the plates that separate your liquid material from the solid material, and then the additional liquid comes in this stream, comes out in this stream. We also enforce air in order to dry the cake, right? And thus removing additional liquid. So in this case, we can then pump in air to push out. Compressed air can also be used to remove the slurry. And once the process is done, the hydraulic pistons, they release the pressure, and the plate and what you call the cake falls down into a layer. And these plates, they are held by a chain, so they do not get removed. Only the cake that removes or falls down into another stream where it is collected by the means of a conveyor belt. So this is basically how plate and frame filters work. So these filters, when they are discharged, the breast is dismantled and the cake is removed, ready to begin another cycle now. So there are three different plates. One, we've got the filter plate, the frame, and the wash plate. The filter press has relatively low capital cost, high flexibility for different foods, and it is reliable and easily maintained. The pressure filters, low capital cost. You won't spend a lot of money in terms of using these types of filters. It's highly flexible for different food products, so you can use juices, you can use umboti to filter, to separate, the sorghum, and then obtain a clear liquid. So this is also reliable, and it's easily maintained. It's easy to maintain. Just remove the plates, wash them, put in again another cycle. So this is widely used for the production of apple juice. As I've explained, that apple juice needs to be clarified if you want to have a clear apple juice. The downside or the disadvantage of these types of presses is that they are highly time consuming and highly labor intensive. So they take time for the cleaning and also for the labor. Right, so these are the plates that we form. First we have the frame, basically it does not have anything, and then we have the filter plate which has got grooves or meshes. The filter plate is almost similar to the wash plate. Right, then here's just another diagram just to illustrate this process. Here we've got a filter cloth, yeah, which is this part, and then your feed comes in here. So once the feed comes in here, it comes this side, then it's pressed against this filter cloth, and then the liquid comes out here, and then the filtrate which will come into this area. So if you look at the blue part, this will be then now your filter cake that is from the insoluble material. So if you look at this area here, this is your filter plate that can be used. So basically this is almost the same thing, it just shows you from a different point of view when we also have the wash liquid, when we also have the slurry. Importantly, you must be able to label or identify these components. Then the next mechanism that we find is the shell and leaf plates. So these plates, they've got filters which has got meshes or grooves, and these grooves are constructed highly, and then these plates or these leaves, these things are called leaves. So these leaves, they can be placed vertically into this chamber. So various leaves or discs are placed into the chamber, and then this chamber will be closed, right? And then this is how it's closed. So in some designs, these leaves, they can also be rotating at 1 to 2 revolutions per minute to improve the uniformity of cake buildup. So then your feed slurry is pressured in here, and then it goes into these leaves. These leaves then under pressure, then they separate the liquid material, which is your filtrate. It comes out on the other side, then the cake builds up on these leaves. So when the filtration is complete, the cake is blown or washed from the leaves. So that's why it goes down here. Then this is the cake that is decanted. This technique is very effective and has a higher capital cost than plate filters, and this is best suited for what we call routine filtration of liquors that have similar characteristics. So why are we using these shell and leaf filters? This is used to overcome the problems of high labor cost and lack of convenience offered by the plate and frame filters. So as I've said, this consists of mesh leaves which are coated in filter medium, and they are supported on a hollow frame which forms the outlet channel for the filtrate. So these leaves are stacked horizontally or vertically inside the pressure vessel, and in some designs they rotate uniformly to improve cake buildup. So this is basically the old generation shell and frame lift shell and leaf filters. So the next one we found is a rotary filtration. Your slurry input comes in here into this place, and then as this rotates, the slurry is sucked by vacuum, and then the cake stays in here, and then there's a knife to remove in your cake. Then the slurry comes over this place. Then you've got a pump. That is the, as I've said, vacuum filtration utilizes a pump. and how this looks like on a diagram. So you can also have the slurry from a different place or from a different angle. Then there's a wash liquid, then there's a scraper or peeler, so which takes off your cake, right? So this is the same diagram over here. So we look at now the rotary drum filters. Sorry. So as you can see, the nice thing about this type of equipment is that you can have a glass where you can see how the drum filter works, which you can see the operation in motion. So this drum rotates, we can easily observe it, and it's easy for you to conduct your maintenance on this drum. So you can feed in the slurry from the bottom, and then under vacuum this slurry is obtained or kind of sucked in, and then there's agitation. So particle distribution results in uniform cake build up. Then you can also use separation in washing. So if you can see here, during washing, then your product comes out here, and then you can also use these to wash the cake. So the cake is washed on this side, so the filtrate now is separated into different streams for easier handling. You can also then dewater. So as you can see here, from a macromolecular point of view, as you put in water, then the separation of different components at different levels, right? So you can see dewatering the mother liquor, and then you can also dewater the wash liquor. So this is how it opens. So when it goes inside the material, then the filtrate gets sucked in over here, and then this is how the cake is removed. On the other side, there is a scraper that removes in the cake, or that discharges your cake. And then you can also clean the cloth, which serves as your filter paper or as your filter medium, right? So this cloth is also cleaned by continuous stream of water, and this is easier to use. So this is basically the diagram. So this is a cake that builds up over here on this drum, then this is the washing water, and then this is the dewatering zone, and then this is a solid product, which is your cake that can be removed by a scraper knife. So this is a filtration zone. So there's a suction force into the central duct that sucks in your material. So this is your feed slurry that is over here, and obviously because this drum is lined with a filter medium, so it prevents the entering of the cake here. Only the filtrate enters into this suction duct, right? So now that we have seen the applications, so where do we use these techniques? So we use this in sugar refining and refining of edible oils. So when we are refining sugar, the juice produced by extraction from sugar cane or sugar beet contains insoluble impurities, and we don't want these impurities. We would like to remove these impurities. Therefore, we need to use what we call filter membranes in order to remove these materials. Right, so how does this happen? The juice that you have, can I just remove the pointer here? Okay, So we treat the juice with lime to form a flocculent precipitate which will settle at the bottom of the vessel. So the supernatant liquid, we filter it to produce a clear juice for further processing. And when we are refining sugar, we use plate and frame presses, and a rotary drum vacuum filters can also be used. In the refining of edible oils, after extraction or expression, crude oil may be filtered to remove insoluble impurities such as fragments of seeds, nuts, and cell tissue, etc. Remember, in our practical for the extraction of the oil, what we used then, we used the principle of centrifugation in order to purify our oil. And the following week, we also saw that gravity separation can also take place. If you work in a large scale, you can then also use the plate and frame filters for smaller operations. So it's another way of separating these components. So perhaps one of the most important clarification filtration that we have here in our department is for beer production. So as you would know that during beer maturation, a deposit of yeast forms on the bottom of the maturation tank. So this yeast will then give you a beer that is clarified, is hazy, right? Or it's cloudy if you don't remove this yeast. So beer is therefore recovered from this by filtration using plate and frame filters. So this beer is clarified by treatment with thin glass findings, centrifugal filtration, or centrifugal or filtration. If filtration is used, the beer is first chilled, then filtered through a plate and frame filter, horizontal plate or edge filters. So what you need to understand is that if you look at this picture that is over here, this is beer that is unfiltered, and this is filtered beer. A similar thing happens with apple juice. If it's unfiltered, it is hazy or it is cloudy, right? And then in order to remove the cloudiness, we can use plate and frame pressure filters in order to clarify the beer. And that process, we call it clarification by filtration. A same principle we can use in wine. Wine is filtered at different stages of production, after raking, after decolorizing, and finally just before bottling. What do we use in filtering wine? We use plate and frame presses, shell and leaf filters, or pre-coated rotary drum vacuum filters. You can also see here, this is wine that has not been filtered, and here this is wine that has been filtered. Filter media that are mainly used for wine are sheets made up of cellulose incorporating a filter aid material, mainly diatomaceous earth, which is bound on the cellulose sheets with bitumen. The last part that we're going to look at is the removal of microorganisms. So this is termed microfiltration. So the removal of yeast and bacteria from liquids, as in the case of beer. The fibers hold the negatively charged organisms electrostatically, and this uses the charge of these microorganisms compared to the charge of your filter medium. And the common products where we use this is in wine, beer, and juice extraction. So what is it that you need to know? For filtration, the terms that you need to know are terms like slurry. What is a slurry? What is a filter medium, and what is a filter cake, and what is a filtrate? And that's it for this section. Thank you very much for your attention. Please, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email or share your questions via the WhatsApp group or the Blackboard discussions, or ask any student to assist you. Thank you very much.